So D, is it time? I think it's time.
It's
time to get vulnerable, baby.
Let's do it.
Vulnerable,
the podcast. I hope that you accept what it is.
It's finally here, baby.
It's finally here. There is such a natural beauty in just going everywhere and doing everything. Like, you learn so much. And you're right. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I don't know if it's good to be naive. I don't know.
Yo, this is the way I like to look at that. And if I ain't learned nothing else, being vulnerable gets you somewhere if you could get past your personal stuff. But when you use a word like naive to me is what the definition is, right? Like, you are here we go, now I'm trying to be Webster or Merriam. But you naive to something. You're really not paying attention to the true picture, so to speak, right, of whatever the scenario is. But naive for people like me and you, it more falls in the arena of, we don't want to believe what we're being told about that person, because we look at people, I believe, on a deeper level. Friendship for us is a big deal. It's the same way when people come to your house and we like, nah, you just don't bring everybody to D house. This it, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I think sometimes naive is also either a person's ignorance in recognizing what they're doing to you, or they're blatantly, like, they know. For instance, if people know that you're a person that could get something done, they go to that person. They're not gonna go, you know what I'm saying?
They're not gonna shop around. They're not gonna look anywhere else.
So like, when you are a kind-hearted person and all of your interests move in respect of the best interests of either the friendship, how you feel about the person or whatever, or the sacrifices. And this is the thing that I don't say it to people, but because everybody doesn't go around and speak about all the little minute sacrifices that we make, you know the depth of your friendship through conversation and all that, but there's a whole bunch of unspoken things. Same thing in a marriage, right? Same thing at work and all that. Like, there's all these unspoken things that, oh, this ain't the time, or oh, let me not, and so piece of being naive is also that other person either not being in recognition of self or purposefully utilizing what they know they can get from you. I've seen it all the time, man. Especially as a person who, I've been a go-to person. So, and that's not just monetary value.
Do you have an opinion on that? Like, how do you feel about that? Are you happy when you're the go-to person and you feel like people are taking advantage of you, or is this something you do pay attention to, you don't care about?
It's perspective, right? Because that to me is a frame of mind thing, right? And your frame of mind stems from all the things that your life, the total circumference of your life. And for me, I'm a positive thinker. Like, it's not that I'm naive to the negative or all of that, but I'm not choosing to look at that, because if you think in a negative manner, you carry that emotion.
It's gonna affect you
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, nah, I'm trying to be bubbly and like, yo, we have to do this? Okay, then let's do it, right? And so, I can acknowledge negative. Sometimes I'm naive to all of the negative outcomes or something like that, just because, once again, I don't make that left at Albuquerque. I make the right, like And so I am a ball of positive energy. And then as far as people coming to me, I've never felt used, because I enjoy it. When I was younger, and it used to happen, I don't think nothing of it. I'm just talking because that's really what it is, right? We just talking, and whatever it is about our friendship, it made you want to tell me something. So for me, I've always valued that because I know plenty of people that are mumble mouth and don't talk. And I don't mean the way they say it. I mumble mouth like they're not as free with telling about things. They're not as vulnerable, right? And so I don't want to say adore, because it ain't like I'm going to sleep with it, but I've always took it as I'm doing something right because you felt it in you to come to me to divulge something. And you even think I'm worthy to give you advice on it. And so I covered that role. I got
But is that always the case? Now, there's always, and again, I'm getting into the details of what being naive and taken advantage of are,
right.
but let's say there is a scenario where you feel like somebody is taking advantage of you because you're naive. So again, they're coming to you because of all these scenarios that they feel like you're the person
Right.
that's going to take care of it.
Right.
Is it a matter of being taken advantage of, or you just being naive? Now, let's say you find out you are being taken advantage of. Do you still be like, all right, I'm gonna do it because I'm that type of person, or be like, nah, bump that. I ain't. You taking advantage of me now.
We about to board the flight. Captain. Destination unknown. I'm the pilot. So, I've always had a keen ability to read people. And I don't mean it like I could Miss Cleo you. I don't mean it like that. But I just pay full attention to all the intricate details. My mind be spinning crazy. And so every little thing that happens when I'm around a person, it goes into my mental data bank.
Take it and you file it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I piece it into our relationship. So all of the uncomfortable conversations, all of the hurt, the family and all that, it's gonna incorporate without having to do anything that's gonna be recognizable, because nobody wants to feel handicapped, right? But what was the question? No, what? Nah, don't do that. So anyway, so I always proceed as such. In the instances where I knew somebody was either taking advantage of me, or I knew what they say was their truth wasn't the full truth. Relationships is easy, but it happens at work as well. I could give examples about both, but I'm always gonna do what my heart feel like is right? And where I gotta be careful is when do I draw the line? And my problem be, so those same little nuances that I said, you oblige people, you don't gotta tell them and all that. So now when I feel like you taking advantage of me, I feel like you trying to play me, right? And I feel like you think I'm stupid. And because I think for me, I feel like because I'm always all jokey all day, I think it come to a point where it's like very superficial view. He jokey, he have fun. He don't know what's really going on. He don't. So when I feel like that, then that's when Daniel's son come out. You see what I'm saying? Daniel's son. Word. I gotta go into the dojo. But I always do what my heart feel is right. And I did it so much, or have done it so much, to where it is detrimental. You know that too. Because it's not that we're overly nice, but there is like a imaginary dotted line where same thing with you, it's just that your line across is different than my line across. But there's a while where there's a point where after we're gonna monitor the behavior. That's what it is. Okay, this happened this one time. All right, well, all right, this happened this time. And then eventually you either drift away or it changes how you view that relationship because you see how that person is willing to treat you. So I always move accordingly like such, and I feel like I got a powerful energy. I take over.
Which is great. I mean, I bring it up to say that a lot of people don't understand that mindset, that concept. Like, I think I was having a conversation with a friend, and he was
the OG.
The OG. He kept saying that, but you being like, his whole thing was, but you being taken advantage of. Like, how you gonna stand for that? Like, but you being taken advantage of. Like, how you gonna stand for that? Like, he kept going on.
That's a
and on and on
generational
about
gap.
Yeah.
You know, he grew up with Daz Effects and Rakim. You see what I'm saying? Dookie rope chains and.
Sure did. There was a different mindset back then.
And he's coming off of the man's era. Because the era right before is the man is the provider. The woman may or may not work, but she's, the tradition. What is.
Yeah.
So I just feel like with every generation, something slip, right? Like with us improving as humans, it changes the dynamic of something else.
I mean, I feel like I get that. Because he's not the only person that says that to me. I'm not gonna put that all on him. But I've had some even people at work, some people that I'm cool with and close with, and that are younger than me. So that generation is different.
That's true.
And they still feel the same way. So I mean, it could also be that they were raised by that type of people. And I mean, I say people. That's.
This is where me and you wandered off in the schoolyard, and this is why I'm the pilot and you the co-pilot, right? Because it's all, I don't want to say it's unexplainable, but it's the reason why me and you is best friends.
But I'm glad to hear you say it like that, because like I said, sometimes it's a comfort to know that some people think pretty much the same way that you think.
Yeah,
it was starting to feel like I was the only weirdo on this planet.
Nah. I mean, so if we best friends, this the weirdo line, and I'm over here, but I'm holding your hand across the line. You see what I'm saying? Right? So, I mean, let's be clear. Yo, let me tell you why I love you. Can I do that?
You can do that.
And I don't know if she deserved the credit or you, but I'm going to go with you because you're a big boy. The pits of your hands and your elbows and all of that, I'm proud of you. I don't know whatever lotion you got, I want stock in it. Because I appreciate you not looking like you left the masonry, all right? Even your face is glossy. It's glossy. Do you shop at Sephora?
No, I can't mess with you.
You, my friend, are a beacon of light. No insult right now. We have plenty of time for that. Trust me, because you're going to show up ashy. I'm going to see you ashy, and I'm going to say something. I don't want you to be misconstrued, and I'm using all my dictionary. You see what I'm saying?
Here's a part of me being vulnerable. I don't know if I'm ready, even though people who know me know that I'm vulnerable. Whatever, they know the feedback information, our general interaction is just, that's the type of person I am. I don't know if I'm ready for other people to see that I can be vulnerable, because I feel like that's a form of judgment without knowing me that comes too quick. And that part of the judgment looking at me is a little different, and it doesn't feel good most of the time. But I agree with you. I think if more people are aware that vulnerability is a positive aspect and not a negative one, then, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this world would be a better place.
So you sound like a Children's Aid Society commercial.
Exactly.
So my thought, the first thing that popped in my head when you said that is how much of that is you and how much of that is the world.
Of what, my vulnerability?
No, you said when you part of the reason why you don't want to be vulnerable is because of the judgment that you think you feeling, right? But these are your thoughts.
Those are my thoughts. Yeah. Right. It's nothing that the world has insisted is definitely happening. It's just my concept of how it's being viewed, and that's it. So it's all me. It's all in my head. Got to get past it.
So that's that perception thing we talked about earlier, huh?
Yeah.
Right. And so the perception of self is a big deal, and something that I learned recently is that, not learned, but there is your personal truth, which is probably the most valuable, not necessarily always the most right. Excuse me. Then there is the perception, and then there is the middle, right? That's the old saying. But here's the thing about that saying that for me just really took focus. If the perception is so strong that you hearing it and you getting all of these signs from the universe and throughout the course of life or whatever the walk may have been at that time, you're consistently hearing the same thing, it's time for you to change your perception. Especially if these are people that you love, trust, and you say is family, friends, ex-people that care about you. If you got 25 people all telling you the same thing about yourself, but you still have this hesitancy, that's you. That's not the true view of yourself. It's the man in the mirror syndrome. When I look in the mirror, I see a monster. I see black parts under my eyes and all of that, but I don't get told that.
Just like you said, you're arrogant and you think that, you know it all. If somebody keeps telling you, no, you don't know it all, are you saying that because they said so, I don't know it all? Is that what you're saying? Because that's the same token to me. If somebody tells me that, let's use the ultimate example, which happens all the time. I'm the nice guy and I'm being taken advantage of. Like, nah, nobody taking advantage of me. I'm doing this because I want to. This is the type of person I am. But they keep saying I'm the person getting taken advantage of. So the perception is that. So should I believe that, or should I believe that no, this is me acting on my natural character? I'm not worried about, this is what I want to do. I want to help this person. I'm not being taken advantage of.
You believe in social structure?
I do.
You do? Let me explain what I mean by that a little further. What I mean by that is we are all human, so we are all equals, but we ain't all equals, right?
Okay.
And so with that being said, not that you're supposed to walk through life like this, but with everything, you gotta weigh out what you hear and take it for what it's worth, and all of those other things, all encompassing, right? And you have to evaluate the people that are saying that to you.
Okay. So at that point, you determine whether or not I should believe what this person is saying and take it for face value or not. Right?
That is correct. Okay. Based on how you are viewing that person, right? Because if a person that says that to you at work, but they show up 15 minutes late, you might not respect it. But if it's a person like, I ain't never said that to you.
No, you haven't. You haven't. But people who are close to me have said it to me. Yeah. And people whose opinions I respect, and people's whose, mindset on, how life is and things like that. I generally take advantage of their insight on numerous occasions. So, if they say it to me, then I feel like there has to be some truth to it.
Nobody gonna know who this is, but the OG wrong about that. And it's not even. I won't say he wrong. That is the mold. Your mold is different from that person and everybody else's mold, and versus I'm working on this, versus the criticism, it's more understanding is needed. Because
let me say this, because I know you know that the one
yeah.
person is going to know who it is, and I don't want him to think that I'm still harping on this scenario, because I'm not. I just think that it is the ultimate classic concept of how one side of the world thinks and how the other side of the world thinks. So that's the only reason why I bring it up so often, so many times. And it's not because I'm harping on it still, because that's not the case. It upset me initially, but we spoke about it since. We've made amends. I understand his point of view, and I hope he understands my point of view. But it's still a valid concept about how, like I said, one side of the world thinks and the other side of the world thinks. And I don't know, I don't like to think of it as right and wrong. I want to think of it as understanding. You know what I mean? Like if we're never going to agree on that concept, and I understand that. But in my head, I'm like, well, he just has to understand that that's how I feel. But in his head, he's like, nah, you're just weak. You know what I mean? Like that's all. And again, I'm not picking on him. I just honestly believe that that's how most people think. You know what I mean? And it's not him per se. It's the other half of the world, and it might be even more than that, like 80 or 70% of the world. You know what I mean?
We are not in the vast majority. We are in the smaller populace, but the smaller populace of the world is also the wealthiest.
Okay.
Right? And so it's perspective, right?
It is perspective. You're right.
When it comes to that, or that, not even that particular situation, I'll gently frame another one. I got one of my gangster friends. We got into something, and I don't know if you ever see me like really, really mad, but I start twisting up my mouth, and my mouth get crazy and all that. And I always expected people to accept it, because I don't mean nothing by it. I'm just talking, right? And so what I learned from that situation is this. If you out with a friend and you know that friend is a rah-rah friend, and that friend is the rah-rah friend to the point where you got one sentence before he knocking you out, do you get in the way of that person when he gets to the second sentence?
If they know that that's how it's going to end up, then no, I don't get in the way.
Right, because that's who they are. And you know what happens in a situation like that where you do get in their way if something goes wrong. That's your fault. You see what I'm saying? So but I had to learn that, because me, I'm not, I mean, I can fight, but I don't want to fight. If we got to fight, how about we just not talk, and you go that way and I go this way? You know what I'm saying? And so that's an acceptance thing, right? And so that's why I said, like, both truths can be right, but that is more about the value you have in what he says, more than anything else.
I get that.
That is that. And I mean, I ain't gonna let you ease on down that yellow brick road, but that is you, man in the mirror. And hence, this is why I don't expect nobody to be me. I'm not saying I want a billion stands. I'm not saying it. But for whatever it means in your language, your way, and not to your detriment, and not all the time, right? Everything is about person, place, time, all that stuff. To your advantage and not at the disadvantage of others. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. We're not out here, I mean, some of us, we're not out here waging war and all of that stuff. We out here trying to get by, right? And while we get by, we want to be okay. And being okay is about your mindset. How do we achieve that? How do we get to your optimal level of okay? What is the path? What are the steps for your path, right? Whatever the situation may be. Some things are so vile, so how do you how do you learn how to live again? How do you learn how to be okay while you're here, right? Because if you're going to be here, do whatever your best is, make your life comfortable enough to where it's happy. And that, that to me is the goal. And I don't care, to me, I don't care what topic you pick. I don't care what the arena, work, whatever. To get to the truth, people have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to let your guard down and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. This is what I hope to achieve. This is what I hope to gain. Yada, yada, yada. And, the outcome of that, will be dependent upon the circumstance, how you set it up, yada, yada, yada. But don't mistake failure or not getting your way with I shouldn't have been vulnerable. And I think that's the piece that people get caught
Yeah, I
up.
mean that's a very, very important part. Part of being vulnerable is not, being the ultimate sacrifice for a scenario to finish the way you want it to finish. Just it's understanding that the scenario has so many different options and so many different outcomes, and you may not know it. You can't see it. You can't predict it. Somebody else has got to see it. Somebody else has got to be involved. Somebody else has got to react a certain way in order for things to be acceptable for you. Being vulnerable means you have to accept that things are not going to go your way. You have to accept that you're going to be hurt. You're going to be upset. You're going to be sad. You're going to be happy. You may be happier than you've ever experienced before. One of the happiest moments in my life is my daughter being born, and I didn't realize I can be that happy until it happened. So part of being vulnerable is that, and I think part of our definition, our reasoning for doing what we're doing is because we want people to understand that is what vulnerable is. It's not a negative term, and we want you to accept that vulnerability is something that everyone should have in their life, and how to embrace it, how we embrace it, how we react to it, how we respond to it, and how we interpret that information, because it's an ongoing cycle that continues on even after you've accepted that information that you are being vulnerable. How does other people perceive that information and how they react and so on? So
that feel good. We
Yeah.
gave them enough. Tune in, lock in. Let's do this. Let's get vulnerable, baby. 100% all the time.
100%.
We out of here.